Hey everybody, just ready for another edition of the show with the Honorable Judge Joe Brown. He gonna tell us how it's going down and getting ready for Man Up Monday, I guess is what they call it. It actually is Man Up Monday and it's the first of the month. So I hope everybody's doing pretty well. Let's see what you gotta say. Just got a couple of topics I wanted to touch on with about the HR 127, the impeachment sham, and the Equality Act. Probably won't be on that long day. Um, I'm sure he's got some things to do. Let me welcome the brother. Hey, how you doing, sir?
I'll manage.
Okay, well, you managed. What's going on in the world today?
Shit, where I am, rain, I guess.
Yeah, we had rain earlier, but it's cleared up now. It's supposed to have a dry spell for about 9 days, I think so they say. Yeah,
New type of weather. It was 1 degree Fahrenheit, 31 degrees below freezing on what day was it? Thursday here. Last night it was 71 degrees at 10 o'clock at night and 100% humidity. So,
how did you go out last night?
no, I didn't go out last night.
You had a good show with Ron yesterday.
Yeah,
Well,
what I heard.
the people want to know about what's your thoughts on everything that's been going on so far as the Equality Act in the
Quality Act is poison. If you want to find out what it's like, either read Orwell's book, The Animal Farm, or, well, I don't like Google because they leave so much out. I've got stuff around my house that you can't even find on Google. So, it is what it is. It's a work in progress. However, if you Google it, you can find an animated edition of Animal Farm that's pretty close to the book that the CIA did back in the 50s. So look at it, and what it is it starts off when these animals pull off a revolution and take over a farm from the humans. They have the Constitution, and one of the precepts is all animals are equal. They had some pigs that wanted to exploit that, and after a while, the Constitution changed to all animals are equal, but pigs are more equal than others. So the Equality Act is pigs are more equal than others. What it does is it
okay,
sets up a hierarchy of importance. And one of the crazy things is drag queens have more importance in this hierarchy than normal women do.
mighty funny. Trump was talking about that yesterday at CPAC.
Yeah, it's sick. Just plain sick. Problem is we now have 50 Republican and 50 Democratic senators. And come Queen Imhoff will cast the deciding vote. So the best hope is to filibuster the hell out of the thing. And the Constitution says in the Senate there shall be unlimited debate. They can cut it off if they get 2/3 of the senators, but that's not likely to happen. So filibuster the damn thing to death. So, I think Everett Dirksen, most people don't know who he is. He's a gravelly voiced old time Republican. I think he filibustered one bill for 72 hours straight. They just did stand up and somebody will hand them the phone book and they'll start reading the phone book. They yield the floor and somebody else reads it. Everybody else, the yellow pages or something, or the old time thick gray phone directories, or they might say something about the issues, and they just keep going and going and until the chairman asks for a point of privilege and point of order and moves and tables the damn thing. So, is what it is.
Well, I looked at it more so in a context, more so judge of a context of. I mean, you're a woman. You gonna be a super minority now. You talking about women minority. You gonna be the super minority. The trans gonna get everything.
Well, the problem with that when it comes to women directly, aside from them being more equal, is this allowance with penalties for failure to allow these drag queens to compete against real women, including in contact sports. Now, with me, that's personal. Year before last, 2019, I was in, I think, parking lot for Lowe's, which is one of these big hardware stores. And I looked at somebody and she says, "Hi, Uncle Joe." I said, "Baby, you've grown since the last time I saw you." So it was a good friend's granddaughter. And she had her arm in a fixed, rigid cast. So what happened? She couldn't put her stuff in the car, so I helped her. She said, "Well, I'm in college now. I'm a sophomore, but when I was a freshman, I had a athletic scholarship. And one of the things I did besides ordinary gym is wrestle." I said, "Okay, what happened?" She said, "Well, they had these boys that, they were freaks," she called them, "who were claiming to be women. And I didn't want to compete against them. And they told us if we didn't, we'd forfeit the game and our scholarships would be uh, forfeited." So I wrestled this guy, Uncle Joe. I've got this compound fracture in my arm. I've had 3 operations. They have me on some painkillers and I can't hardly do my work. You know, I said, "Baby, I understand." She says, "What is the world coming to? This just isn't fair." That's like I'm 18 years old and I got to wrestle this full grown man. What the hell is that? And another one of the girls got 2 broken ribs.
Mm,
They're
damn.
going to kill one of these girls. And this drag queen stuff, see, there's human nature. Second-degree murder is an intentional killing, the result of provocation sufficient to cause the defendant to act in an irrational fashion. The defendant. Manslaughter is a killing resulting from passion caused by provocation sufficient to cause an ordinary and reasonable person to act in an irrational fashion. In other words, just a defendant versus damn near anybody. So I had quite a few of these murder trials where some drag queen pulled moves on somebody and the guy, they testified. I just got to thinking, why did he pick me? I'm not gay. What made him think he could get over with me? What the hell? And the next thing, I just blanked out. And then when I came to, after everything went red, I didn't even realize what had happened. And in each case, the jury acquitted them. Temporary insanity. But you
What do you
see,
think
these
about this,
clowns
Judge?
want to take that defense away, and it's just not human nature. They got this idea that somehow or another, because they want to get away from nature, that everybody else is supposed to be able to transcend it just because they want it. See, they've never been in a fight in their whole damn life, and they don't know what it is. It's just everything gets out of hand, and you do it. They don't get it. So
Well,
somebody said down there's a trans dude 6'8" playing college basketball against the girls. See, that's a travesty. The son of a bitch can't make it on the varsity. You sit his ass up in the stands like everybody else that can. And they don't need to put him down there as a girls cheerleader either. Now they had boy cheerleaders, but they threw the girls up in the air and caught them. And they had some moves, they didn't do all that high kicking, all that nonsense like they're playing whatever in the hell they're trying to play. And, you know, I don't care what the devil they do in their bedrooms. That's their own damn business. But when you start trying to bogart my living room, I'm kicking your fucking ass. You know, get the hell out of my face. And don't fuck with these kids. And they're trying to recruit the hell out of them. Remember, their excuse is they're born that way. They can't help themselves. If they're born that way, then what the hell are they doing trying to recruit so tough? And see that stuff with drag queens reading to children. Human physiology is such that a child's personality is chiseled in stone by the time he's 7 years old. And children have an affirmative reaction to presentation of authority. So you get this kid, you put him in a library, and then you introduce this drag queen as an authority figure. For the rest of his life, he's fucked up because he thinks that's cool.
So the Secretary of Education, the Secretary of Health and Education actually was sitting there having the big rant.
They don't need, he's not secretary yet. They need to not confirm him.
Not yet, but proposed, okay?
Yeah, proposed. But like the one that's proposed for Attorney General. That was Obama Tang's last nomination for the Supreme Court. Lifetime Republican who all the time in the D.C. circuit, usually they did 3 panel members, and it would be 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1 to let somebody out of jail for wrongful conviction, except this asshole would always vote to keep the brother in, even when the conviction was egregious. You know, I mean, what the hell is this?
That guy also
long-term racist, and his firm used to represent Goldman Sachs, and he is just all off on guns. I mean, this fool thinks the only gun you should be allowed to have is for play purposes, something out of the Wild Wild West from bolt actions first got adopted by the Prussian army in 1841. So what's that, 180 years old? Lever actions, you know, the army authorized some of them, the Henry, in 1860. So what the hell is that? 160 years old? Sam Colt patented the revolver in 1836. So what the devil is that? 184 years old? 185 years old? So, I mean, this ass you got up in the White House is talking about all you need is a 6-shooter. What the hell is wrong with him? See, the bottom line is the Second Amendment isn't just about self-defense and hunting. It's so that if you've got a group of people, ordinary people that can constitute a militia / army, then you never can have a professional army acting with some corrupt politicos to impose a tyranny. And that's just what these bastards want to do. 3 of those articles you sent me in the last 48 hours, you can't read because they censored them and took them down.
My apologies, man.
No, not yours. It's why the hell can't you read something like that in America? It's not about sleaze. It's not about porn. It's not about vulgarity. It's talking about crucial and vital political issues. And you can't. This has never happened in the history of the country. Before, the limitations on free speech always just dealt with you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, all right? Could you say motherfucker? You know, now you can say that to kids and ain't shit happening. You see, fighting words. In other words, words that if said would provoke an ordinary person into combat just because. Those were the things you talked about. Never anybody, and see this thing about Associated Press has declared there was no fraud in this election. Well, guess what the number 2 or number 3 issue in American political debate has been for 230 years? Whether or not there was election fraud. Chicago, New York, Tammany Hall, you know, the first Daley administration, Al Capone and all that stuff in the boys, Los Angeles, California, back in the 50s, all this kind of stuff. So now you can't even talk about it. You can't suggest it, but then to show you how hypocritical it is and how it is slanted for a specific purpose, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, CNN, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, Fox, all of them, everybody on Twitter. The Russians hacked the election to steal it from Hillary and give it to Trump over and over and over. Now you can't even suggest that something appears wrong with this last election cycle.
You want to know something?
If it's okay for one side, what the hell happens with the other unless you realize that the side that is okay to say that.
Read that.
Yeah, I
Read
see
what
that. That's happened. I know somebody that was in a worse situation than that. He owned some apartment buildings, so they sent him unsolicited registration forms for all 8 of these apartment buildings he owned, and he could submit them simultaneously with his mail-in ballot that was unsolicited. Oh,
well, let me say one thing before I move on to the next topic. That Rand Paul was asking this drag queen about puberty blockers.
You mean that asshole that they've got up for a secretary of what is health, education, and welfare? That freak.
Yeah. So he asked him, and he said that he wouldn't get into it right now, and we got to trust the science and all this stuff. I said, wait a minute.
Look, there is no science that is legitimate science that supports that shit. What happens is there are some people who get it up the butt all the time, but they got a twat, but they like to lick twat, and they happen to have a PhD, so they try to justify the shit they do. Get what I'm saying? That doesn't make it science. It is a matter of fact, the overwhelming body of the scientific evidence says it's an abnormality.
Okay, now, so down here,
I'm sorry that they have it, but in everybody else, you're born without an arm. That's you're handicapped.
Okay,
I mean, they want to call it challenge now, but everybody isn't supposed to chop off an arm to commensurate and be on the same level.
In Hampton, Virginia.
Look, one problem. It's Man Monday. You want to talk about that? Being a man is so damn hard that you have to start on a boy child in infancy and put it in his head, put it in his head, what he's got to do to be a man. And these folk don't want you doing it. Oh, let him be what he wants. And then you got these perverts like, what's her name, Charlize Theron. Oh, when he was 3 years old, he said he wanted to be a girl. You lying heifer. You just don't like the idea of a strong black man because your ass is from South Africa. So you girled up these 2 boys. He wanted to be girl. How the hell does a 3-year-old know what the devil he wants to be? He's challenging and trying to experiment, and you're supposed to do what you do for all higher order mammals. You acculturate and socialize them, whether they're humans, gorillas, chimps, baboons, elephants, orcas, porpoises, dolphins, sperm whales, lions, tigers, wolves, bear, whatever the hell they are. They're supposed to get acculturated so they do what they're supposed to do. The social thing is a backup to the physiological evolution. And these folk got weirded out. They didn't get hardwired right. And they're freaks, but they want everybody else to accept their freakism as normal. Well, I'm sorry, man. You're handicapped. You are crippled in your head. Understand we have asylums for crazy, we used to. We have mental health treatment, psychologists and psychiatrists, but you guys declaring that you can't do it this way and you can't help it. But to me, it's a choice. Like somebody tweeted, he said, I like pussy, man. I love pussy, but I got married, so I don't run around anymore. But my inclination is to run, but I make a choice not to. And I throw this on these folk. I say, look, so every time y'all get that booty stuff going on, you get raped? No, it's consensual. I said, it's a choice then to have sex with this dude? Oh, yes, of course. It's not rape. Well, it's a choice. So if it's a choice, you can either say, I don't like this dude, I don't want to be with him, right? Yeah. Well, if that's a choice, that means you can say no, or you can say no again. And that means if you got a choice, it's not compelled because you can say yes or no.
Okay.
Just say no.
Now, I wanted to bring up another topic, and just somebody just sent it to me. Dozens line up outside Hampton Bass Pro Shops to buy ammunition. That's about an hour from me up the road, in Newport News, Virginia, out that way. But they lining up to buy ammunition. Everybody's been running to the gun stores lately in anticipation of HR 127.
Well,
What
it's
do you think?
not just HR
No,
127.
that's not it. But I know.
2020, they sold more guns in 2020 than at any other time in American history. I think it was 36 some million firearms, and there were 11 million people who purchased for the first time. And the problem is that they've been shooting up ammunition in the Middle East for 20 years. Obama Tang, the Bush Bunny boy, he went and converted all of the government arsenals that remained to making environmentally safe practice ammunition. He closed down the rest of the government arsenals. They've been running through a huge store of ammunition that built up, but after 20 years, it's gone almost. So most of the ammunition companies like Remington, they're out. Remington went bankrupt. They're out of business. Some other companies have bought them. So Winchester is making ammunition for a lot of the companies. They're making it for the government. Federal and some other companies are taken under this umbrella corporation. So all of them are making ammo for the government to replenish these used up stocks. And the problem is while they're making these runs, they don't have the capacity to really make stuff for civilians unless they set aside some small number of machines, which you have to reconfigure every time you change caliber. So what has happened is they did not anticipate this run on bang instead of bling for 2020. So they have run through the ammunition stocks. Now, every now and then they can get stuff out there. Like I've seen online, you can get 1,000 round case of 9 for $761, $742. But it used to be you could get that for $480 8 or 9 months ago. So ammo is hard to get. And I was in the business of shooting up 1,000 rounds a week just to stay in practice. So I can't do that now. I've got some electronic stuff to simulate it so I can keep my edge, but it's not a good picture. I even have progressive loading machines where you can crank out 1,000 rounds an hour, but you need bullets and you need primer and you need propellant. The propellant is running dry. You can't find the primers, and it's hard to come by bullets. Cases I can get because they'll let me sweep the stuff up on the range.
Okay.
So it's hard to get it.
Okay. Well, so in and other I understand what you're saying about that, but just for some people who may not know, but I'm pretty sure these people know about HR 127, your thoughts.
Oh, that's poison. See, here's what's wrong with that. They want to reinstate the 1994 Gun Control Act that actually caused the Democrats to lose control of the House and Senate. It sunsetted in 2004, 10 years later. Then they tried to reimpose a version of it, and they lost out in 2010. Good for these asses. Now, that just reflects this whole attitude of punk ass sissies don't want to do things for themselves. They feel entitled to have somebody else do it for them. And they're scared as hell of manhood because, oh my God, he might kick my ass. Oh God, this kind of thing. But aside from that, this bill would reimpose the 94 Act, and they even used the language from the 94 Act, and a lot of the weapons they specified have been long obsolete over the almost 30 years intervening. They aren't even made anymore to a great extent. The next point is in order to purchase and possess a new firearm or a used one, if you buy it, you have to have a federal license, which costs you $800. And within 90 days of the bill's passage, you would have to register all guns that you already had. And that's $800 a hit. And this is the bad part. You would have to go through a psychiatric exam. Now, all of these, well, they need to have anyone that has a gun needs to go get a psych exam. Why would they want it? Oh, you asshole. Go someplace with your punk ass. But the deal is what right guaranteed by the Bill of Rights do you have to have a license to exercise or a mental health evaluation? Do you have to have a mental evaluation before you can exercise the First Amendment? Oh, I can see that coming. He's crazy talking all of this homophobic stuff. All right. Maybe somebody gets the real bright idea before you can run for a political office, you got to get evaluated. But the other part of the whole thing is they leave the nature and scope of the examination up to the attorney general, which means this asshole Garfield that they've got up there now. Okay. So can you see it? Do you find it objectionable for trans women to read to children in elementary school? Do you have any problem with, would you accept your children being homosexual? And then you say, hell no. And they'll go, the applicant should be denied for antisocial ideation, you see. And then the other part about it is, essentially, unless you're going to give it up, that would require somewhere between 160 and 180 million people in America, which would be the overwhelming majority of the adult population that own guns, would be required to get a psych exam. And see, it doesn't just end with the applicant. Every person in the household has to be assessed and talked to by the shrink and evaluated by the shrink. Your spouse, and this is the spouse's revenge, your ex-spouses have to be contacted. Your co-workers, your neighbors, friends and associates, and this would set up a totalitarian snitch ring in the country. So what right requires a license to exercise? What right requires a psychiatric exam to exercise? If you start with one, it can expand. Somebody foolishly said, well, you got a right to drive a car and you have to have a license to drive a car. I said, excuse the hell out of me. You don't have a right to drive a car. That is classified as a privilege, not a fundamental right. How would you know? I said, well, you stupid asshole, I've been doing this for 50 years and I got elected to 16 years worth of term as a damn judge where I had appellate jurisdiction over all this traffic crap. Yeah, I know. You don't. It is not a right to drive a car. It's a privilege. This is driving on suspended or revoked driving privileges. It doesn't say driver's license. You may have never had a driver's license, but if your privilege to get one was revoked, the hell, I had one fool in my courtroom that had been busted 37 times for driving on revoked, suspended, and or canceled driving privileges, and the fool never had a driver's license because he couldn't pass the driving part of the test.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna ask you, this guy says Judge Joe for president. Now, that'd be kind of a dandy, probably what we got dealing with right now. But he is actually running for mayor, so that's very interesting.
Yeah, they're trying to talk me into running for mayor of Memphis in 2 years, the next election. They got an ass right now that's a county mayor. He's black. He's gay. He and his wife. They're law professors at Memphis State Law School. They've been that for 15 years. They get paid their professor's salary, whatever they do. The law school encourages its professors to do pro bono work, and neither he nor his hanky wife have done one damn pro bono case in 15 years for the people of this city, and much is needed in that direction. So his main thing is, if he was elected mayor, he would be first in line to try to end the rights of people to pack iron with a permit to carry.
Wow.
And he wants to paint more rainbows on the ground. Now, I don't care, like I said, about gay vote. It's the business. But, you know, when they start trying to jack our thing around, I'm in my 70s, and goddamn it, I've been standing in line a long ass time, and I ain't ready for some motherfucker to be cutting up in front of me. Get your ass to the back of the goddamn line and wait like everybody else. Don't be talking about, well, you know, let me cut up with my. Hell no.
Now, this brother right here, he respects you. He respects you. He said they're trying to pull off a slave state in the 21st
That's
century.
exactly what they're doing. They want to sissify this place and obsolete manhood. Even that shyster ass BLM, Black Lesbian Mania bullshit.
You know, they just
We
was
are
burning
for
out.
the destruction of the traditional family. We are a queer affirming network. We
You know, they
wish
just
to
was burning
end
down.
cisgender privilege in the family. In other words, you don't need any man in the family.
You know,
And
they just
then,
was
see, what did you see that crap about how much money they'd raised last year?
well, they raised 10.6
$95
billion.
million. And
Well,
you
that's
know
just the
where it
grant
went?
donation.
This is where it went. For those interested, we will help organize and arrange and stage, providing communications for demonstrations and protests. That's how these asses have been getting all that Antifa shit done, right? Is the money's been going in through them, and they've been spending it to make sure that it's well organized, well supplied. Bond money is put up to get the white cupcakes out and leave the few sprinklings of fudge in there in jail.
You want to know something? They actually were just burning down the city of Portland again over the weekend. Coffee shops and everything. They going in. So if you look at it in a context with them, they're still doing that. Now they're protesting. They say Biden is not. They're putting kids back in cages or something. They're all over the place.
God damn it! Look, I always considered it a punk ass move to use a child as a shield. So you sneak your ass in here and you try to use your child as a shield. Then fuck you. Your kids get what comes of that. And I've got grandkids. Other people have kids and grandkids. Our kids aren't getting what they're supposed to be. And we've been here for a long time. And I don't have anything against Mexicans. But just like everybody else, you come in here, you follow the damn rules. And I know often enough, going through Miami, when you get to Miami, watch out for these first generation Cubanos, well, first migrant generation. They will screw you up. Anytime you go through Miami Airport, ask at least 3 official looking people for instructions.
I
One
just
of
was
their
there
little
last
tricks
week.
coming through customs, when you come back in the country, when you get to this desk, there's a little staircase that goes up to your left as you're facing the desk. And there's a door at the top. Oh, senora, you go up there. Don't go up there. Are you trying to? No, I'm not going up there. I remember my ex and I came back one trip. We knew better. And we said, no. I said, go get your manager. And this young white couple came up behind us. And they told them up. They went up there. The alarm went off. They slammed this dude in the wall, knocked the chick to the ground. She had on a little sundress and a thong under for undies, and her bare ass was out there in the breeze. They had their elbows in the back of this dude's neck, you know. 4 or 5 of them had guns to his head. And when, you know, everybody downstairs, hey, they got told to go up there. Supervisor came over. Did you do this again? Yes, senor, you know. And it all got settled, but these are American citizens. They're white folk. So it wasn't a race thing, and they got their asses jacked up for even looking like they went wrong at the border, which is at the airport. So why the hell, if an American citizen gets jacked up for disobeying the law, you're going to grant amnesty to these assholes? And then the federal judge is already enjoined that old Biden ass for demanding, ordering the deportation cease. The judge ruled he didn't have the authority to do it, which he doesn't. I agree. Next thing, he ordered approximately 11,000 known sex offenders to be released because they were illegal aliens. What the hell? I have some young women I know that I've worked with, or children of people I know who are in places where they could get abused, raped, and assaulted. What the hell's with these folks about not following the law? You know what it is? Republicans don't have it right. They're not trying to get these people in so they can have them fraudulently vote. They don't want them to vote. What they want them to be done is counted. See, Article 1 of the Constitution says there shall be, well, one of the sections says that there shall be a census. The census doesn't say crap about where the money goes. The census simply is supposed to be for the purpose of apportioning representatives in the House of Representatives. So in other words, the more illegals that get counted without a designation that they are not voters, just residents or present, that means California, Illinois, New York, etc., Texas pick up more seats in the House of Representatives. And these people that they're picking up seats for can't even vote. So you get a freebie. In other words, California's policies get more importance because they pick up 3 extra congressmen nominally representing people that can't even vote. And they say, I don't get it. Like I said, I'm in my 70s. This was my 5th census as an adult. The first 4, they asked, was I a citizen? They also asked, were my parents citizens, and how they became citizens. Were they born here, naturalized, or what? And now all of a sudden they can't. That's because these assholes were pulling off a move where we can pick up extra congressmen and not lose any, because California's losing population. So they might have lost 2, but they can pick up 3. See where that goes? Smart move. By the way, the ignorant always say, they said black people were 3/5 of a person in the Constitution. It didn't say that. What it says is, for purposes of apportioning representatives in the House of Representatives, 3/5 of those held in involuntary servitude shall be counted toward this number. And see, that included indentured servants.
They're running a play on history.
Yeah, that's black folk don't know. It's ignorant. You even have Judge Mathis talking about that. That ain't what it says. Have you read it? No, but I know it. How the hell you know it, man? Read it. But you see, you have to understand. Oh, I'll give you an example of what that means. Okay, Warren Buffett, George Herbert Walker Bush, George Walker Bush, Dick Cheney, Obama Tang Boy, Brad Pitt, they're all cousins. Well, the ancestor, who was a French Huguenot, that's a Protestant, ran out of France because he wasn't Catholic. He indentured himself. So the ancestor to these presidents, 3 presidents who were alive at one time, 1 vice president, 1 billionaire, 1 noted actor, was an indentured servant. White boy, French boy. And he also, by the way, this dude, one badass, he had descendants, 7 damn descendants of his were presidents of the United States of America. And one of them, an 8th, was vice president. So, I mean, that's one of those people, 3/5 of whom will be counted toward establishing the representation. So did that say shit about black? No, it didn't. But you see, you got a lot of ignorant people that have never read it and they talk off of what they heard.
Okay.
What you hear ain't always right. Used to be a leavening of common sense, but who has it these days?
Well, I got a question for you. Since the Man Up Monday, and I've been talking to some. Well, let me bring up something before I go to that. So, as you know,
Well, let me get this. I wrote down a list of stuff to deal with for Man Up Monday. Hold on.
Okay, got you.
Hold on.
Let me see what you
know. What's the devil? There it
is. Well, I'm glad you wrote it down, man. But you know, but I tell you about my little rendezvous to Texas. I met with some great people. They all respect you, sir. So that was a good time. But I did land in Miami, so it was a lot of Latinos and Bahamian women working at the airport. But yeah, but I had a good time in Texas. Some of the brothers, we went out to eat. One of them, Valentine McClure. Shout out to Dawson, who calls in to your show sometime, Miss Dawson, and others. So they say they respect you. So I just wanted to put that out there.
So thank you.
But
I try. I
we had a
stomp
good
on some
time
people's tootsies every now and then because they need it. Get their attention.
Well, yeah.
By the way, thank you again.
What? Oh, okay.
I just would thank them again. I appreciate that vote of confidence. One thing I want to comment about Miami again. I appreciate foreign languages. I know Italian, French, Spanish, German, Yoruba, Swahili. Swahili ain't what it's supposed to be. It's a pidgin language that the Arabs, the Dutch made up using some elements of Bantu to run the slave trade on the East African coast and the ivory trade. So it's a slave language, but a lot of black folk get into it. If you want to take something, get a West African language like Yoruba, it's more closely to what you are related to. But that said, this is the United States of America. If you're flying into Tokyo, the air traffic controllers are speaking English. If you're coming into Beijing, they're speaking English. If you're flying into Rio, they speak English. If you're coming into Rome or Florence, which they call Firenze, they speak English. If you're coming into South Africa, they speak English. If you're coming into India or Pakistan, or you're going into Bulgaria or wherever, they speak English. Now, damn it, that's the national language of the United States. So I did not appreciate one experience where I had to walk to 3 damn terminals to find somebody that worked there that spoke English.
Well, let me ask you a question. But I think if they have international travelers, wouldn't they need somebody to speak English over there when they got off the plane? If they traveling?
Yes, but I mean, it was an American Airlines terminal, United. Went to 3 of them before I found somebody that spoke English so he could give me some information. Like, what the hell?
Okay. So I just want to ask you one other thing, and about your little, I guess, run for. Well, no, I ain't gotta ask that. People can give people, your information like Twitter, Parler, etc. Stuff like that.
Oh yeah, you can find me on Parler under Judge Joe Brown, and they gave me a red check in red P in 15 minutes, and you get 1,000 strokes instead of just 280 on Twitter, and that includes spaces and punctuation. Twitter, yeah. Twitter won't give me a blue check, but you can find me there under at Judge Joe Brown TV, at Judge Joe Brown TV.
And the thing with Valerie.
Yeah. That's Friday. And you can call in 929-477-1167. Area code 929 477 1167. And that
Yeah, I
would
just wanted.
be 4 to 6 p.m. Fridays, Eastern Standard Time. If you get in there and you want to talk, press 1 to get in the queue. If you call in before 6 and you're already on, then even though you can't call in after 6, we still go for another hour and 3 minutes. And sometimes it gets real hot and heavy and interesting.
Well, let me ask you one
You've
thing.
been on.
Yeah,
Thanks for
I have.
coming on. You
Well,
always
yeah.
contribute. You are
Well,
our
let me say something to
resource
you.
researcher, our
Let me,
driving metropolitan reporter, investigative reporter who travels around the nation.
thank you, sir. Look, I want to bring this to you, because I didn't really touch on it because we're in a new month now, but I just gonna bring it up and you can just break it down in 3 minutes. So, how would you feel about the impeachment sham on the Hill?
You know what? The takeaway on that one, be careful what the fuck you ask for. You just might get it. See, they got accepted articles of impeachment. It got ditched. It didn't go anywhere. But you know why some of the Republicans joined in? It's a precedent. It now says you can bring impeachment proceedings against someone after he no longer holds that office. Now, some of them know that there's a federal grand jury that's been looking at Hunter Biden's laptop since February 2020, and the U.S. Attorney General can't back anybody off on that one. So it concerns some of Joe Biden's activities while he was vice president. So these stupid jerks set the precedent of establishing that you can proceed against somebody for things done in an office that he no longer holds. The stupid, myopic idiots in the Democratic Party were trying to exercise the 12th Amendment that says anyone who is convicted of articles of impeachment can no longer hold office again. So they were trying to attack Trump. But what they did is they successfully set the precedent to allow Biden's ass to be hauled up. Now, the first impeachment was absolutely ridiculous and shows how stupid Congress is. They impeached him and returned an articles for abuse of authority. There is no such crime. And Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution says you can impeach and remove from office for these three things: bribery, abusing your discretion or authority is not bribery, for treason is not treason, and it's certainly not a high crime or misdemeanor in office because that has to be defined as a statutory criminal offense. So it ain't. So that's dead on delivery, one count. Second count is he obstructed Congress. That is the dumbest of them all because they fell into a trap in terms of thinking of the House of Representatives as Congress. That's from the 19th century when the press talked about congressmen because representatives were the only thing you could vote for since you could not vote for senator. That was an office filled by the states through appointment by the governor or the state legislature. They picked the senator. You didn't vote on him. So these clowns said he obstructed Congress, but the Article 1 of the Constitution says the Congress of the United States of America shall consist of two chambers. One, the House of Representatives, and two, the Senate. So when you send this article over to the Senate, anybody in here get obstructed? Nope. Well, that's out because we weren't talking about the House. We have some stupid morons who got on television and clowned all this time, and they didn't even realize what the Constitution said. There shall be a Congress of the United States that shall consist of two chambers. the House of Representatives, and the Senate. And you got all these Republicans in the Senate, and they did not feel that they were obstructed. That was their boy in office. So it was out. That was how stupid it was. Like, man, did you read this shit?
Well, go ahead and give me your topic for Man Up Monday. I've been hearing some brothers say they're getting a little disappointed by the women in their lives and stuff like that.
Okay, Man Monday. Classic and direct man training applied to most young males has a memorable track record for producing effective men. When the suite of masculine attributes syncs with proper training and acculturation, we get the functionality needed for yin-yang balance. Do your part. By the way, the Chinese have implemented a program to man up their soft males to restore the yin-yang balance. That's something new. Okay? All right. It's Man Monday. Men, join the resistance. Are you worried that your sons won't be men? Are you worried that your daughters won't find a man? Are you worried that your grandkids will be freaks? Do you lament how hard it is to find a woman? Join the resistance. I'm calling it the resistance. Stand up to this bullshit.
Okay.
Entitlement. Think about this for Man Monday. One of the most alarming trends is the growing expectation that even the most fundamental and basic things are entitlements to be taken care of by someone or something other than the beneficiary. In other words, when you gonna do this for me? Fuck, you don't want them to get you in the habit of being fed a fish, fool. Learn how to fish. We don't get it. Reparations. I love reparations. Actually, what they're likely to pay you for reparations, I used to make in one day. $500,000.
Speaking of that,
oh man, a lot of money. Hey, shit, I did that in 6 hours.
we'll get that in a minute. I gotta bring out a topic about Mr. Obama talking about it.
Well, I would love to get reparations. Don't get me wrong, but you see, understand the rules. Like, you know, basketball, you know, football, but do you know your government? You see, the president can't grant reparations. The only way you can get reparations is by an Appropriations and Enablement Act that comes through Congress. It's the House and the Senate. If it's signed by a president, and if it survives attack in the Supreme Court, which is sure to occur because the states are going to jump right on it, some of them. So a president can't sign it off. All he can do is sign a statute, a law that Congress, House, and Senate has passed. You can't sue the government unless they let you, because there's a thing called sovereign immunity. You cannot sue a sovereign entity like a municipality, city, state, county, the federal government, unless they allow it. That would require an Enablement Act. Under American law, personal injury does not survive the person who is injured unless it's a wrongful death, and that only goes to his immediate survivors. If the person who is a so-called tortfeasor, the slave masters, are dead, and most of them have been dead for more than a century, that don't count for shit either. So you have to have new statutes that allow somebody to proceed. So do you think this Congress that doesn't give a shit about you, that is putting on this floor show studying whether or not reparations would be feasible, is going to give you crap? And then look at this. They had this sham about whether to set up a committee to study it, a year ago, and they had all these bogus hearings. And when they finished up that little floor show for 2 weeks, guess what the bastards did? Wasn't even 2 weeks later, they passed what they had the insulting audacity to name the Gay Reparations Act without debate on the first voice vote 2 weeks later.
Well, you know something? And let me say this. It's mighty funny last week that Barack Obama was on with Spruce
Oh, you mean
Springdeen
that
talking about
asshole talking about white pressure? Bullshit artist. That little
okay, yeah,
honky
it was
ass with a
bullshit.
chocolate paint job.
It
Bush
was
bunny.
bullshit. I agree with you. It was a total bull crap. It
Grandmama
was mighty
pimped his
funny.
mama
And
off
he
so
was talking about that.
you know how bad that little fuck is? His grandmama is a pimp. Back in the late 1950s, Jomo Kenyatta had set up the Mau Mau, and they staged a successful revolution and threw off the yoke of British colonialism. Well, the U.S. State Department and the Defense Department were very worried that they were going communist. So they decided to recruit some promising Kenyan students and give them an education in America so they would be favorably disposed toward America. Obama's pimp ass grandmama pimped his mama out when she was 17, introduced her 17-year-old daughter to this Kenyan student. He knocked her ass up when she was 17, and the Obama tang was born when his mama was 18 years, 3 months old. Then, when the boy was born, Granny pimped her out again and handed her over to somebody almost 30 years older than her, Lolo Sotoro, who was an oil baron, international executive vice president for Standard Oil, that's Exxon now, who was in charge of the death squads in Indonesia. And by the way, back in the late 60s, The Hague allegedly had warrants for his arrest, charging him with alleged crimes against humanity, to wit, the murder of between 500,000 and 750,000 people he was personally responsible for, like Heinrich Himmler on a smaller scale. And he ran the clandestine spy rings for the U.S. government in China, North Vietnam. Remember, the Nam is coming up in here. And Cambodia, Laos, and Indonesia was classified as an official communist country at the time when Obama Tang was born in 1961 to his 18-year and 3-month-old mama. By the way, I checked, the doctors who signed off on his alleged birth certificate in Nairobi, Kenya, are legitimate. Everything's in order, and that would show that he's a U.S. citizen, but that isn't why they had the birth gate. U.S. citizenship is brought up 2 places in the Constitution. One, how do you become a citizen? He's a citizen because he popped out an American white pussy. That makes him a citizen. But you can't run for president unless you were born on American soil, unless you were born somewhere and came to America before the revolution that started in 1875 or whenever. Now, Cruz, who was runner-up to Trump in 2016, was not qualified to be president. Do you know why?
Because
He
he's
was
from
born
Canada.
in Canada. He's an American citizen because his parents were American. And if your parents are American, it doesn't make any difference where in the world you're born. Know somebody else that could have run for president? Well, couldn't, but he was an American citizen. Prime Minister Winston Churchill. His daddy was an English noble, and his mama was heiress to the Fields department store fortune out of Chicago. Daddy was a broke ass nobleman, and he needed some money, so he married him a rich bitch out of America.
Wait a minute,
English
Judge.
did that.
Judge,
So
I just got, you got to get back to your man up thing, but this guy got a question. I want to know, do you know nothing about it? I'm going to go ahead and do it now. I told him 20 minutes.
quantum mechanics.
Yeah, quantum grammar. If you
I know
can,
quantum mechanics.
okay.
That's a
Well, yeah.
theory of the observed relationship between matter and energy on a very, very microscopic scale.
Okay.
They've been trying to rationalize quantum mechanics and relativity for the last 100 years. Quantum
Okay.
mechanics makes these things work. Cell phones. This
Okay.
last year, they came up with a new solution to Einstein's rather complicated theory on general relativity, not E equals mc squared. That's something else he came up with. But on the main theory, they just discovered a new ramification that even Einstein didn't know about what he had invented or
Okay.
discovered.
You got
So
anything else on
quantum
the note?
mechanics, I know quantum mechanics, but I had a physics major, but quantum grammar, I swear I don't know what that is unless it's got something to do with the science, the physics.
Okay. You got anything else on the notepad? With the man up thing?
Oh,
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There's another man Monday thing. Being a man is so arduous, difficult, and hard that we can't afford to let shirkers sidetrack the rigorous socialization and acculturation process needed to turn boys into men. Man up, join the resistance. Now, let me say something sidetrack about right to do something in your bedroom. 40 years ago, I represented one or two co-defendants. One was a man, one was a woman. The guy had bought this house before he had gotten married, and he was married to this woman about 2 years, and they filed for divorce. The circuit court judge told her she had to leave the house and surrender all of the keys, but she had an extra one made and didn't surrender it. So homeboy and his new girlfriend drive in her car, which they park around the block, walk around the corner, go into his house, and the ex drives by, doesn't see his car. She takes the key, she opens the door, goes in, and homeboy and his new girlfriend are on the couch going down on each other, doing 69, right? She runs out the door. There's a cop driving down the street. She flags the cop down. Cop walks in the door, let in, and arrest my client and his girlfriend for, quote, unnatural sex acts that carried 3 to 15 years in the state penitentiary. Sentence up to the jury at that time. Well, we were unsuccessful in the motion to suppress because the cop believed that the person who was granting him admission had the authority to do so. She was claiming she was his wife. Anyway, we go to trial. So the jury is, I'm for the jury. I said, now, ladies and gentlemen, this is what this case is about. So this one juror put it in wait a minute. Jesus Christ. My wife and I were doing that just night before last. You mean we could get 3 to 15 years in the state penitentiary? The judge said, yes, sir, that's true. I wasn't a judge, I was a lawyer. And he said, we made what? That's what we're here for. Oh, yes, sir, that's what we're here for. And this woman said, oh my God, that's the way my husband can satisfy me. You mean I can get him put in the penitentiary? Damn. Everybody just started laughing. The judge said, seriously, the range of punishment is between 3 and 15 years in the state penitentiary. So they changed the law after I walked my client, but that's just like you need to stay out of what people are doing in the bedroom as long as somebody ain't getting physically harmed by it. But, keep it in your bedroom. We don't need any more demonstrations of self hate, hating what you are and hating what you want to be. We have enough problems as a people as it is and as a country about confusion. So like it is. It's hard to raise a boy to be a man. You got to start when they're in the crib. Son, that's a good way. That's a good young man. Boy, men don't do that. Boy, get your mama's shoes off. What's the matter with you? You don't wearing the damn pink panties up in here. And then there's that witch, Charlize Theron. Oh, he wanted to be a girl since when he was 3. What the?
Look like
Damn.
I'm about to start checking women's birth certificates in a few years, probably, huh?
And then the other thing, you were talking about your boy when he was getting on that freak that bigot Biden nominated for Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare, talking about mutilation, genital mutilation. You see, the UN and the United States has always been part of that, and the feminist movement is against genital mutilation. Are you trying to help an 8-year-old get set up so he can get his dick cut off? What the hell is that? But genital mutilation.
Well, let me ask you a question. Don't you think that should be child abuse?
I think it's a felony to assist a child. I know it's a felony. It's just that, see, these ignoramuses forget the law. Like drag queens, Tennessee had a thing in there about rape by fraud and deceit. Felony rape committed by fraud and or deceit. In other words, somebody sneaks into a darkened hotel room, masquerades as the woman's husband, and she's sleepy. Turns out it's a stranger. See, they engaged in fraud. They convinced the guy that it was a woman, and then there's sex that becomes rape by trick, deceit, or artifice. It's a felony.
Gotcha.
That's what the definition is. So it's on the code books in some states. So yeah, they don't get it. And I know I had a bunch of trials where the drag queen got his ass blown away because somebody saw red and went temporarily insane, and they don't get it.
Well, this is what I gotta say, Judge. Yeah, Judge, I look at it like starting to get real sick out here, but I guess people like me and you gonna have to fight back. By the way, let me ask you one more thing before I go. I gotta bring this to your attention here. What do you think? Black History Month came and went, and I know
They're taking it over for Gay Pride Month. They've already declared that February is now Gay Pride Month. But it isn't shit for Black history because you know what's lacking?
Okay, go ahead and explain it.
What do you study history for? To learn its lessons.
Yeah.
What lesson do you ever get taught about Black history? You got some buck dancing monkey over here who entertained something or some chick showed her ass behind some feathered fans in Paris. So what the hell does that have as a message? What's the importance of that? None. See, they didn't ever discuss it. Black History Month? Why don't they talk about the 50 and 100-year cycles, plus or minus 5, 10 years? Every 50 years, Americans get all bent out of shape and get real riotous. 50 years ago, black folk burnt down cities, and white hippies, peace freaks, take out all unruly about the war. 50 years before that, 100 years ago, everybody talking about they burnt down Black Wall Street in Oklahoma. Yeah, they did. That was 100 years ago in 1921. Some unruly white folk were doing it. And 2 years before that, 1919. It wasn't 2021 where there was 180 people who committed criminal trespass and some malicious mischief. What happened is they lynched almost 500 black folk over the course of 1 week's worth of rednecks rioting in the nation's capital. The Democratic president, Woodrow Wilson, was saying, good riddance, I just signed an order segregating D.C. And fortunately, some black Pullman car porters smuggled in some loads of firearms from Baltimore on the baggage in the baggage cars, and black folk were on the roofs of tenements sniping at unruly white folk who were trying to burn the tenements down. They literally had to call the cavalry in from the army and a division to put order in place. See, that's 100 plus 102 years ago, plus or
Well,
minus 5 to 10 years. So, did they teach us about that? No. They
well, I'll
teach
say
us
something.
about how America works and how Black history is an accurate reflection of American history and what the significance is. Did they teach you that civil rights didn't get shit for us? Because when you got the Civil Rights Act passed in 1964, Lyndon Baines Johnson presented it as a defense bill to uphold the morale of the front line of the Native American defense. The troops that had long been integrated, you know, they civil rights demonstrations only talked about started in 1964, 65, and 66. It's an ongoing discussion about black folk burning down the cities. They don't
Hmm.
teach that.
Well, I will say
They
this.
teach Martin Luther King, everybody loved King. If they hadn't assassinated him, he probably would have been a minor footnote.
Well, let me say this to you. I look at it as a just the way they were doing it, and then I mean, I guess they tried to act like they made it up with Judas and the Black Messiah because they tried to throw that in there. But I mean, for all jokes aside, I mean, it really was a joke when BLM is trying to get the first week of Black History Month. So for every up, there's always a down, I guess.
But they don't teach history.
So
They teach history about the problems Jews had in Deutschland, that's Germany, with the Nazis, and the lessons to be learned from that. But they don't teach black kids the lessons to be learned from black history.
okay, well, I will give you this, Judge. I will say this that you actually do a good job breaking things down. And as a matter of fact, you've been breaking down a lot of things of manhood. So I wanted to bring one other thing to you. I was at work last week and I went in a building and it said, if you see any bullying, please report school bullying. I said, I won't raise like that. Dago, just
Me
bust his
either.
ass.
Bust
Just
him right in his mouth, even if you get your ass kicked afterwards. At least he
also report
knows he got
cyberbullying
split
too.
lip. He's got to wait to get healed.
This guy, now let me put this comment up for you. The guy said the Black History poster has no men in it.
They never do. But you got to understand, it's not just us. Okay, I lived in Aspen during the winter for like 12 years. My ex was a ski instructor. She's one bad skiing sister, all right? I went into ski school. They had 23 posters on the wall trying to get kids in there. Do you know they only had one poster that had 9 other kids in it, that only had one kid that was male in one of these 23 posters? I used to
Dang, man.
raise horses. They
Well,
had all of these equestrian schools up there for the lifestyles of the rich and famous to ride horses. Do you know I went around, I was selling horses to them. I went around, and out of the 7 I visited, not one of them had a boy student.
wow.
And the only thing I saw about it, this old cowboy, he's grizzled, gray, 3-day-old stubble. He said, "Look here, girlie, don't be telling me how to ride no goddamn nag. I earned my living for 45 years riding a goddamn horse. I can get a nag from point A to point B as well as anybody. So you take all your little dainty shit and you go practice your ballerina moves on a goddamn horse. I works with horses That's how I earns my living. And why in the hell ain't you got some men teaching you how to really ride a damn horse?
Hey, well, let me say this to you, Judge. Once again, it's always a
And one other
pleasure.
thing, Man Monday, this is 2021. The first time I can remember they had one of these weeks was 1970. In the intervening 51 years, they've always had Take Your Daughter to Work Week. When have you ever heard of Take Your Son to Work Week?
You're right. So, and let me say something. That's why I said I appreciate you being a man and standing up and saying what you gotta say. I appreciate that because it reminds me of myself. Hey, look, man. Sometimes you just got to make some people get pissed the hell off.
I ain't
But
got no problem with anybody else. But you see, I've been raised so is women and children in the lifeboat first. And if I'm going to give up my seat so you can get in, I got something to say about the process. If I'm going to see you getting jacked up and I come to save your behind, I got something to say about the process. If I'm committed and have done this, it's saying an idle talk, stood up and say, hey, before you get her, you got to kill me, man. If you think you can. Now, if you wanted to take that far, let's go. Let's rock, motherfucker. Hell. But, if I'm going to do that, then I got something to say about it. But you see, I ain't even going to ask any woman to come save me unless it's throw me a rope so I can pull myself the hell out this water when the sharks are around, or hell, drop the ladder so I climb up the sucker. But you see, don't be talking to me about all this shit if you don't ask me if I am willing to put it on the line and go to Valhalla for your behind.
well, that's a good point. I just wanted to ask you a question. That ask you a question. Give the men and women in the chat who feel good. They say they're glad to see you back on. So give them your kind words and um, you know, salutations.
The man, keep on pushing. Be strong, get strong, stay strong. Forget the bling, do bang. Get your shit together, move together. Watch out for the traitors in your midst, because they sure will sling shit. So when you get everything straight, got a clear pathway, open it up wider, kick the door down, move on through, stand there, hold the door open so others can get through with you. It can be done. It won't be fun, but at least you feel good about doing what you should.
Well,
Freestyle.
hey man,
Record that, man. That's freestyle. That's poetry. I didn't write that down. See?
hey man, well that's a good freestyle. But and I'll say
And
this
learn
because
some manly arts. Take some martial arts, man. Get
well,
that
I will
shit
say that
together, man.
and I also say stop donating to Joel Osteen Church, which is the biggest church I've seen in Texas where they had security guards with guns. Wow. Biggest church I ever seen in
They
my life.
likes to be popping them some Jesus folk up in Texas. Seems to be liking that.
But but yeah, I hope some people like I said, take some kind words of advice from the judge. He's running for mayor of Memphis. I don't live in Memphis, but
Well,
maybe
they're trying to recruit me. As a matter of fact, this week they've got 2 meetings. They've been having all these Zoom meetings, so I just check in, answer a few questions, and I
well
will do what I say I'll do, and I don't back down for anybody, anything, if I think it's the right thing to do.
Well, yeah, you're right, and I thank you for your doing that. I hope you do it. I hope they don't run BLM against you, but I tell you, take your time and
Fuck BLM. They some lesbians. They can't handle no dick unless it's rubberized.
woo, man, that's funny, man. But
you know. And did you see the reports? Only 5.6% of the American people are LGBTQ oriented. Now, for my generation, it's less than 2%. See, we got told don't play that. For 18 to 23 is almost 15.9% of them. That's why There are more boy virgins 25 and under than there are girl virgins. That's why there are more boys at home 30 and under than girls 30 and under. These young males ain't taking care of shit. They need the man to fuck up. And by the way, being a man is hard.
Okay,
Why
and
you
I want
think
to bring
we give out medals for being heroes to show appreciation? Man, it's some rough shit, man.
yeah.
We got to show appreciation, man. You did it.
Well, you're right, and like I said, man, hey man, it's a lot of stuff we gotta take care of. Like I just been looking at this stuff, man. I've been like, wow, but we gotta take care of the censorship, and we gotta take care of other things. Hope the censorship we can stop it. But as far as my closing salutation for the people, I'll say this. I do thank y'all for coming on. And matter of fact, let me say one thing to you. As a matter of fact, I was listening to you last week. You was on the Queen Dana show, and I'm sorry, man, I fell asleep. But and Dr. Carmen Johnson, shout out to her as well. But you've been putting some high earmarks on me. I think what you say, man? You call me. I heard you always call young
Well, you know, the
Fred
truth of the
Hampton or
matter
something like that.
is,
What's going on with
what
this
I
man?
was comparing you to is you're in your 30s, but they have attempted to deify Fred Hampton. He's a good brother. I met him. Came out to LA once or twice. But he wasn't any saint. See, the Black Panther Party was dead in 1970 when they killed him. It'd been broken up. Everybody just kind of left, drifted off, because it's like, man, you got more Special Investigative Service (SIS) folk from LAPD in here, FBI in here, LA Sheriff's Department up in here, Chicago Police, FBI. They ain't any point. They know what you're doing before you go to get the toilet paper out of the bathroom to wipe your ass. They know you're getting ready to, because they can say, oh, he's getting ready to take a shit now. That's what he looks like when he gets ready. So they're waiting on you. But see, he was a young brother. He was in high school when the stuff was really deep. So he wanted to carry on. That was admirable, but it just ran into some crazy ass fools. Chicago police, and they like to kill folk.
Well, I'll say
But you
this.
see, there are too many other people that died to be ignored. So they didn't die because they got raided and shot during a raid. They died because they had shootouts with the police. They were on patrol to protect the communities. Police, LAPD didn't like it, and that was gunplay.
Well, this is what I'm gonna say
See,
about that. Well, I'm gonna say I've last summer I was blessed to be with the chairman's Fred Hampton Jr. in
Junior, yeah,
Chicago.
he's 50
He's a
years old.
great brother, and like I said, I'm just myself, but I do thank you for the praise honors, and I do like to talk to people your age because y'all
Well,
have a
see,
lot of
young brother,
knowledge.
I got to commend you. You one of these people that's really getting around the country to investigate. I call you mild-mannered metropolitan investigative reporter. You ain't got your cape yet, and they ran out of phone booth for you to change into that shit with the S on your chest, but you sure as hell are circulating and
Yeah.
trying to get some knowledge base. I applaud you, and you're going somewhere.
Well,
Now,
thank you, sir.
need more like you.
Well, thank you for your kind words and compliments, man. I just want you to take it, just relax and have a good rest of the evening and enjoy the weather if you can. Have a nice night.
Well, it's raining out there, so I'm gonna hold my hands out and play tree and sprout green or some shit. But
But take your time, brother.
all right, man, I'm out of here.
You too, brother.